Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging headfirst into, one of the biggest decisions you'll probably ever face, your career. I mean, think about it. It's so much more than just how you earn a living, right? It really shapes who you become, your day to day, maybe your whole future. Our deep dive today, it's built on a really fascinating stack of sources. We've got everything from, deep dives into personal development right through to these big analyses of global economic shifts. And our mission, really, it's to peel back the layers on this huge life choice. We want to uncover some of those crucial factors, maybe surprising influences, and the long-term ripples, all to help you navigate your own path with hopefully a bit more clarity. Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. When you first start thinking about choosing a career, what usually comes to mind first? Probably your own dreams, your passions. And what really jumped out from our sources is just how deeply connected career choice is with your personal growth. There's this constant theme about the sheer amount of life we spend working. It's clearly not just about the paycheck, it's about how your work becomes this, I don't know, this engine for your own evolution.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating, I think, is how the material highlights it's not just about what you do day in and day out, but almost fundamentally who you become through that work. It's like a continuous journey,
Mm.
self-discovery, transformation. A core insight we found, maybe not totally surprising, but really underscored is the absolute primacy of passion. The sources overwhelmingly suggest the most critical thing is finding something you're genuinely interested in, something you think you'll be happy doing. I
Mm.
mean, imagine spending, 30, 40 years in a job you just dread. It's kind of a stark reminder that real success isn't only measured externally.
That makes so much sense. Yeah, it's not just a job
Mm.
description. It's like it's forging who you are. And it definitely sounds like there's a real warning there about, forcing yourself into that unloved job, even if it looks good on paper or pays well. Did the sources also talk about what happens when you combine that passion with, say, something you're naturally good at, like talent?
Oh, absolutely. The research makes it pretty clear that when you work in an area where you've got some natural talent, it acts like a powerful multiplier for both success and keeping that motivation going long term. And then beyond just that immediate fit, there's this other really crucial layer the sources talk about, future-proofing your choice. You
Yeah.
kind of need to think about, well, is this profession going to be relevant down the line? What are the opportunities for growth, for development? Continuously developing yourself within your field doesn't just make you more employable, it actually keeps the work itself interesting and valuable over time.
Right, so it's this constant evolution, not just picking a thing and being done. What about the less tangible stuff? Do they mention deeper satisfaction?
They did, and this was a really striking point for me. Beyond just the personal skills and growth, we found this powerful emphasis on what the sources called spiritual satisfaction. That deep sense of fulfillment you get when your work actually feels like it benefits other people or contributes something positive to society. And while, yeah, financial gain is obviously important, the sources acknowledge that there's this consistent thread that choosing work you can genuinely enjoy often gets prioritized over just chasing the absolute highest salary.
That's a really powerful perspective, yeah. And thinking about the practical side, what specific skills did our deep dive keep highlighting? The almost timeless qualities you need, regardless of the specific job.
Yeah, the material consistently pointed to communication, problem solving, and analytical thinking. And it makes sense, right? Effective communication isn't just about giving presentations. It's about working smoothly with others, whether that's in a team or dealing directly with client or customers. And those problem solving skills, that's what lets you turn challenges into actual solutions,
Mhm.
like a detective figuring things out or an engineer fixing a bug. Analytical thinking is that ability to step back, see the bigger picture, maybe look at a situation from different angles before jumping in.
Okay, so those are the big three. Anything else?
Yeah, the sources also flag things like technology use, obviously huge now, time management, and just having a strong sense of responsibility. These are seen as increasingly valuable, not just at work, but in daily life too.
Hmm.
But ultimately, this idea of being open to continuous self-development, always learning, that's presented as like the guiding star for navigating your whole career path. Because this choice, it really does influence your lifestyle, who you hang out with, even, your overall happiness levels. Ideally, in the long run, it should give you both that financial security and that deeper sort of spiritual satisfaction we talked about. The research connects job satisfaction directly to your personal growth, your family life, even how you express yourself and contribute to the world. Choosing something aligned with your skills and interests, that really sets you up to be happier, more successful, and probably more productive too.
Okay, so we've established Finding your internal compass is crucial, right? That personal fit, the growth aspect. But let's be real, how often does that compass get nudged or even spun around by forces outside of us? And this is where I thought it got really interesting. Because our deep dive shows that while passion is vital, yeah, your career choice almost never happens in a total vacuum. Those voices, family, society, they can be incredibly loud. The sources had some fascinating, sometimes kind of unsettling insights into how these pressures can shape things or even push us off course. For instance, the sources really stress that a family's role should be supportive, right? Not coercive. Their experience, their ideas, sure, they can be valuable. Maybe they see a talent in you that you haven't noticed yourself. But at the end of the day, the final call has to be yours. It needs to line up with your own interests, your own dreams. Families can guide, they can offer ideas, but they shouldn't force it. Why? Because when it's your decision, you build self-confidence and you end up feeling much more satisfied with a choice that's going to shape, well, a huge chunk of your life.
Exactly. And it's not just the immediate family circle either. Those broader societal pressures can be immense. The research really highlights how expectations, maybe from teachers, maybe just from society in general, can weigh heavily on young people especially. There's often this sometimes subtle, sometimes not so subtle push towards jobs that are seen as more respectable or secure. We've all seen examples, right? The talented artist who gets pushed towards medicine, or the natural athlete nudged into engineering. And this often leads to young people just kind of ignoring their real interests and talents. The long-term fallout is pretty stark. Things like lower motivation, unhappiness, regret down the line, stress, even real professional dissatisfaction. So the message that came through loud and clear was, you've got to listen to your inner voice, follow your own desires, not just what everyone else expects. Family, the environment, they should be supportive, absolutely, but not directive.
That whole idea of external pressure, it really makes you think, doesn't it? Because it's not just individuals pushing. Society itself seems to have this built-in hierarchy. Some jobs just feel more prestigious. What did our sources dig up about why certain professions seem to hold so much more weight or, status than others?
Yeah, that's a critical question, and the material definitely explored it. Your profession is undeniably a big factor in your social standing. Some jobs just command high respect, often tied to high salaries or perceived prestige, while others might be seen as, well, less respectable. And this reflects how society as a whole values different kinds of work. Think about it. Doctors, lawyers, engineers, they consistently rank high in status in many places. Meanwhile, maybe some skilled crafts or certain artistic professions might not get the same level of societal valuation, even if they require incredible skill.
So what drives that prestige, according to the sources?
Usually it's a mix of things. Financial reward is a big one, obviously. The length and difficulty of the education needed often plays a role too. Also, how much the profession is seen to contribute to critical societal needs like healthcare, and the level of individual skill it demands. There are historical and cultural factors baked in too. Healthcare, for instance, gained huge respect because of its direct impact on saving lives. Scientific research, high-level management roles, they often carry significant status as well. But what's interesting is that this isn't set in stone. The prestige of jobs can actually shift over time. Look at tech new roles are emerging and gaining prominence all the time with digital advancements. Yet despite all this focus on status, the sources kept coming back to the idea that your personal happiness and satisfaction, that should really outweigh societal status when you're making the choice.
Okay, so taking all of that into account, the personal drive, the external pressures, the status games, what does this mean for how we actually prepare for these huge choices? Our deep dive really hammered home the critical role of education and also how the wider world itself is constantly changing the rules of the game. Education clearly stands out as a major determinant in career choice. It largely shapes what you specialize in. Higher education, for example, is often directly linked to those more prestigious, higher-paying jobs.
Right.
But it's not just about the textbook knowledge, is it? Education is also where you pick up the necessary skills to actually participate effectively in the workforce. And on the flip side, if the education quality is poor or just not enough, that can create real roadblocks later on. The sources also brought up a really important societal point here. Education can either lessen social inequalities or make them worse. So ensuring everyone has equal opportunities in education, that leads to a much fairer starting line for career choices across the board.
Absolutely. And talk about a game changer, the sheer rise of tech-focused jobs. We're talking AI, digital marketing, software engineering. These are actively replacing many traditional roles. It's a massive shift, and it's happening because modern society is just evolving so rapidly. And this has naturally really shifted what younger generations are looking for in a career. It's created this huge demand for new skills. especially digital literacy.
But does that mean traditional jobs are just disappearing?
Well, the process does mean some traditional professions might be losing value, or at least perceived value. But the material suggested that maybe a balance, like a coexistence of both traditional and tech-focused jobs, might actually be the best way to meet all of society's different needs. For this whole transformation to work well, though, our education systems absolutely have to keep up. They need to adapt and integrate these new fields effectively.
Yeah, that makes sense. And this whole shift, it's not just happening internally within countries, is it? Our sources make it super clear that these massive global forces are really reshaping the entire career landscape.
Yeah.
Global economic changes, for instance, they have a huge impact. An economic crisis might cause job markets to shrink, or booms might cause them to expand, and that directly influences what kinds of careers people lean towards.
Exactly.
We've seen trends like digitalization and automation speeding up that move away from older manufacturing or production jobs towards fields like tech and software. And what I found fascinating was the emergence of entirely new job areas focused on environmental sustainability, popping up specifically because of global environmental challenges. It seems individuals are increasingly looking for more flexible work, more future-proof professions, partly as a reaction to all this economic fluctuation. The speed of change in the global economy really underlines the need for new skills, for focusing on different job areas, and maybe even needing a much more global outlook when planning a career now.
And layered on top of all that economic change, our sources show that career choices are still deeply, profoundly influenced by cultural factors. What's considered a prestigious job can vary hugely from country to country. Like in some Asian cultures, medicine or engineering might be seen as the ultimate symbols of success and respect. Whereas, maybe in parts of Europe, fields like art or design might carry a higher cultural value or prestige.
So culture still plays a big role.
A massive role. Even very traditional professions, think farming or certain arts and crafts, they remain incredibly important and respected in some societies, especially rural ones. So what this tells us is that it's this complex mix, right? Culture, family pressure, societal norms, they all weave together to shape your individual career path. It's definitely not just a simple logical decision based purely on economics or personal preference. It's a whole tapestry.
Okay, so given all of that, the personal needs, the societal pressures, the global shifts, the cultural layers, what does it actually mean to be a qualified worker in today's world? And maybe more importantly, why is the demand for these people apparently going through the roof? Our deep dive painted a pretty clear picture here. It says a qualified worker isn't just someone with technical know-how. They need this powerful blend of other skills: problem solving, communication, teamwork, leadership, even good time
Yeah,
management.
that blend is key.
And here's something crucial that came up again and again: flexibility and adaptability. Being able to adjust quickly to changing work situations seems paramount now.
Yeah.
Staying current with tech, obviously, and just embracing that idea of continuous learning, it's presented as absolutely essential. And beyond the practical skills, those fundamental personal qualities like having a good work ethic, being reliable, taking responsibility, they're still incredibly important. It seems qualified workers aren't just there to tick off tasks, they're expected to actively add value, often through creative thinking and finding innovative solutions.
Yeah, and drilling down a bit, what consistently emerged as maybe the most important characteristic, it was that continuous learning piece, that openness to development. It's about being able to adapt to rapidly changing workplaces, new technologies, different methods. That's what keeps you valuable. Strong communication skills also kept coming up, essential for collaborating effectively. And those problem-solving and creative thinking abilities we mentioned, they're not just nice to have, they're seen as core qualities. A qualified worker is someone who actually contributes to how the workplace develops, not just someone who completes the tasks they're given.
Okay, so that's the what. How about the how? How do you actually become this kind of qualified, sought-after professional? What steps did the sources suggest?
Well, the path laid out involves, first, getting that in-depth technical skill and knowledge in your field. That's the foundation. But then critically, you have to be open to constant learning, actively seeking out new skills, keeping tabs on what's happening in your industry. Strengthening those social skills, communication, teamwork is vital. Cultivating a strong sense of responsibility and being disciplined with your time, also key. There's a real emphasis on focusing on your personal development overall, figuring out your potential and how to use it. And interestingly, showing leadership qualities, even if you're not in a formal leadership role, that really seems to boost your value.
So if we connect this back to the bigger picture, becoming this qualified worker isn't just about your own ambition, is it? It sounds like it's a strategy for navigating this really dynamic, sometimes unpredictable job market. And that brings up the question of the long-term payoff, right? what are the real benefits of investing in yourself this way? Our sources actually touched on creating a sort of personal development plan for this. It includes things like honing technical skills, really knowing your stuff and keeping up with innovations, but also actively strengthening those soft skills like leadership and teamwork.
Exactly. It's a conscious plan.
And it also mentioned improving practical things like time management, communication, problem solving, maybe through specific training or courses. And interestingly, not forgetting personal growth areas like, say, stress management or becoming more flexible, which helps you handle work challenges better. The whole goal seems to be becoming a more successful, more valuable professional through ongoing, focused effort.
And the long-term advantages that come with that, they're really compelling according to the research. People who fit this qualified profile are consistently highly sought after. That naturally means more career opportunities, better chances for advancement. Having those high-level skills often opens doors to more responsibility, maybe promotions into management, and generally, yes, it leads to higher salaries and better working conditions.
So, better prospects, better pay. What about stability?
That too. These skills tend to make individuals more resilient when the labor market shifts. They're often less affected by downturns in specific sectors. It provides a much greater sense of security and ultimately success over the course of a career. Now, as for why this demand is spiking so much, several reasons came up. First, technology and digitalization just keep demanding more advanced technical knowledge and sophisticated skills. It's a constant upskilling pressure. Second, globalization. Companies need a really competent, efficient workforce to stay competitive on a global scale. Third, big concepts like innovation and sustainability are driving the need for more specialized labor people who can tackle these complex challenges. The business world increasingly prefers professionals who have deep knowledge in specific areas, but who can also think analytically and come up with genuinely innovative solutions. At the end of the day, these qualified workers are really seen as the key to boosting efficiency and quality right across the modern workforce.
Wow. What an incredible journey we've taken today. We started right down at the deeply personal level, how career choice shapes your growth. Then we navigated through those powerful societal and family influences, all the way up to these huge global economic shifts, and finally drilling into what it really means to be a qualified worker in this rapidly changing landscape. It's so clear that this decision is incredibly multifaceted. It's affected by so much more than just, what do I like doing?
Absolutely. I think if our deep dive reveals one thing, it's the sheer complexity and also the constant evolution of career paths today. It's
Yeah.
definitely not a case of picking something at 20 and you're set for life anymore, if it ever truly was.
Yeah.
It's much more fluid.
Definitely feels that way.
So, as you, the listener, think about your own journey, wherever you are on it. Maybe the most critical question isn't just, what job should I pick? Perhaps it's more like, how can I keep evolving with my chosen path,
Right.
making adaptability itself my most valuable skill? Something to think about.